Hey guys, this is the first episode of the Maestro Memoirs. Okay, and today we're going to be speaking with Eric Redder from North Carolina Youth Soccer Association. He is the Assistant Technical Director there. And today Eric is going to provide information about North Carolina Youth Soccer, about the Youth Academy program, which he's the director of. And he's going to begin by telling us a little bit about his story.
It was all due in part to teachers and coaches during my youth who had positive impacts on me in my soccer experiences as well as school and my educational experiences. I thought, man, this is it. This is exactly what I want to do. So I really got started coaching while I was still playing. My coach ran camps and he ran training programs in the area. And so a number of the players who were interested in that did work for him in the summers and throughout the year. And then moved on to graduate school and joined the Ohio South ODP staff, started coaching club in the area, and so we got really involved in the youth club side of things. When I finished school, ended up coming down here to North Carolina where I was teaching and coaching at the high school level. Continued on with ODP here in North Carolina, and all the while I was pursuing my coaching education training, whether it was with USSF Federation, NSCA at the time, now United Soccer Coaches, or USYS. And that ultimately led me to start in coaching education and, complete my licenses, my diplomas, and other courses, which helped me become the state technical director in New Hampshire for a little while when my family relocated up to New England. And so while I was up there, I was doing coaching ed, again, still with ODP. I was at the club level. I was even coaching college up there. And as of about 18 months ago, my family and I relocated back down here to North Carolina to take the opportunity to be the NCYSA Technical Director for the Youth Academy here in the state.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Your story mimics a lot of coaches that I know in the U.S. A lot of coaches play in high school. Obviously, they play in college, but then really they get into coaching through these camps in the summer, and then they kind of see, hey, is this something that I'd want to do? And then they find a job in the club. But one unique part I think about your story is the coaching education aspect of it. What do you feel that you learn beyond, let's say, what's specifically taught in the classes? Beyond that, I guess, when you go to these courses, how rich is the experience, I guess, in your view?
Yeah, I think the reason that I was so passionate about pursuing coaching ed was, one, I was a trained teacher, so I valued education. I valued the learning process and learning how I learned. So that was huge. And then the content. But I think the thing that kept me coming back to go through all the courses was the relationships you form with people, the experiences, the frustrations, the questioning yourself, and then hopefully when you come out the other side, you have a worthwhile experience, you've learned things, but you got these relationships. I've got classmates of mine from a number of different license levels or diplomas where, if I'm in that part of the country, we'll meet up, we'll exchange messages, we stay in touch over social media. And it's just really cool that something that is so humbling, I'm coming to learn, I'm coming to get better in a coaching education environment. And so are these other people. And then we walk out as friends because we both struggled to sort of better understand ourselves and what we need to improve upon. And that has linked us for years. It's something you don't think about because you want to go in, you want to learn, you want to complete the education opportunity and hopefully use that to better yourself in your career. But it's those relationships which ironically ultimately do help you in your career because it's about people and it's about your relationships in addition to sort of the training and education you can experience as well. So I'd say that is the thing that always kept me going back to coaching ed every summer when I had off as a teacher or when a course was in the area. I knew I was going to get something from it beyond the content.
Yeah, I think it's one point that I just want to hammer home there is you talking about having an open mind and wanting to get better, and everyone has a different philosophy of how the game should be played, especially when you get to a course. It almost forces you to question your philosophy, and talk to other people, and that's a great place. I always say no one knows it all, no one, and so it's so important to have an open mind and say, oh, how do you see this, and really listen to people, and take those different views, and grow from that. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I agree. Just seeing how other people think. We're all different. We're all individuals, and so they're going to see something you don't, and you can incorporate that into what you do or what you like to do. It's only going to make you better, and you're going to enjoy things more because you're going to have gained something from someone else.
NCYSA and your role now, it's with something called the Youth Academy. Can you tell a little bit more about what the goal is and what age range the Youth Academy looks at?
Yeah, so I work for North Carolina Youth Soccer, which is the state association here in North Carolina. There's 55 state associations in USYS, so we're all members, and we register players and coaches within the state to help facilitate competitions, player programs, and to make it easy and simple, we've got levels of registration. Traditionally, you have recreation and you have travel. And again, just to keep it simple, NCYSA Youth Academy is a level of registration specifically for the U8 player to U12 player in our state. And the best way that we try and describe it is it's kind of a sample to travel, maybe a sample to more organized club soccer. And the overarching goal is to provide an environment for players, coaches, and families to develop and participate in the game throughout our state. And it was something that my current technical director set up years ago with our board of directors. And I've been fortunate enough to help manage and oversee the program, but it's a really positive program within the state because it gives players a chance to sample other activities in their life while they grow and develop their passion in soccer. So hopefully when they're ready to make that jump to travel, what we call our state classic, they've had the opportunity to learn, develop under trained, licensed coaches who are following a state curriculum and a program and a protocol. So that way when they move on to more competitive classic/travel soccer, they are as prepared as possible.
Nice, yeah. And you talked a little bit about the curriculum and the idea there in the age range of 8 to 12 years old. I guess why was that age range chosen, and what do you think is important in those 8 to 12? What are these players trying to learn?
That's a good two-part question. So I'll be candid. The age range was chosen because the program was set up before me. But yeah. I think if we step back and we look at why it was chosen, it's that transition period. You're transitioning typically out of rec, and hopefully you're transitioning to travel, which we call classic in our state. And so it's that time where kids are learning new things in school, but they're pursuing other sports, other arts, other extracurriculars. So we want to give them the opportunity to do as many things as possible in life. But we also want to give them a more challenging, rigorous, but developmentally appropriate program. And so that 8 to 12-year-old age range really fits that because kids are finding out what they need. So when you think about that age, what are some of the things that are most important? Well, you want to make sure it's fun, it's engaging, we keep players coming back. But now, with kind of the changes from U.S. Soccer and the player development initiatives, coupled with the emphasis on the coaching education side, when you look at the play, practice, play model, it's an experiential, it's a holistic, and it's a player-focused approach to teaching and guiding them to grow and learn through soccer.
These coaches, they have to be licensed, right, through U.S. Soccer to work in this. That's one of the criteria to coach in the Youth Academy is after a certain amount of time, they have to have a license. But how else do you support coaches?
Yeah, so I've been blessed that the role that I have specifically the version of the assistant technical director role, is to day-to-day focus on support, growth, and development within the Youth Academy. There's other areas that I focus on within our state association, but that's the main one. And so because our leadership, our board of directors have taken what is traditionally a secondary or assistant role and broken it out into two different assistant technical director roles, I'm better able to implement a large amount of resources that previously weren't there for the coaches throughout the state. So, we've got a 5-tier social media platform that we use to pump out information to celebrate and profile DOCs, club spotlights, individual player spotlights, to share success, and to help engage our members and to showcase what we're doing from east to west. I mean, it's a big state. There's a lot of different soccer experiences, from the mountains to the beach to the urban areas to the rural areas. And so we provide lesson plans. We provide documentation and resources for the coaches and the programs throughout the state. We provide on-site formal ed, through coaching education, or informal, and that could be me going out for sessions, running clinics, or providing evaluations and observations for different programs, directors, and clubs, as well as we help implement, revise, refine maybe some of their player development structures and the ways in which they're interacting with players.
So you're traveling east and west of North Carolina. It looks like you've got a map of all the clubs kind of behind you there. What do you see? What are a few things you see as you travel across the state that most clubs are dealing with at these ages?
Yeah, so that's good there. We got little pins notating where our clubs are, and I think as of spring 2018, we had 53 member associations that were running Youth Academy programs. We got around 90 different members within NCYSA, so just over 50% are facilitating Youth Academy play, and that just varies based on their area of need. What are the things that I notice as I travel around? If you think about maybe when a lot of coaches today were playing, they made a team, or they made a second team within their program, whether it was soccer, baseball, or basketball. And, if you were unfortunate enough to be that last or second to last player that was released because, we don't have enough players to make another team, or we don't have enough players, or we don't have another coach, whatever sport, whatever activity it was, they were no longer able to participate. Even if the program wanted to keep them involved, there was no opportunity because logistics and numbers didn't allow. So the neat thing about the Youth Academy is it's a pool training system. So you basically have a large pool or squad, and then you, as an individual club, will hire staff or coaches to help oversee the development and experience of those players. And your coach-to-player ratio is set by us within our standards for the NC Youth Academy, but they can obviously have more staff if they need to. And then when they play matches against other clubs, they just break up the players based on attendance and playing ability and matchups and other variables that they need for that week. So everyone gets to play and everyone has an opportunity to play, and you're no longer disenfranchising kids because of logistics. You're keeping kids involved, and that's been the most positive thing that is a reoccurring theme throughout the state.
One of the most important things is creating a pool of players, a large pool of players, and then obviously teaching them the correct things to develop in the game. So yeah, that's great to hear that more and more players are getting into the program and it continues to grow. Which is good for soccer. So in this age group, and I want to talk a little bit about the thing that everyone's going to talk about in club soccer, and that is the players and the parents. Okay, and so what resources or information do you provide clubs or teams in the Youth Academy as parent education? For me, I think one of the most important things that we can do as coaches is educate the parents. Yeah, we have a team for 8 months of the season, but we also have that group of parents for 8 months of the season. So when I have a club team, I think it's so important that I talk to the parents and communicate, these are the goals of the team, this is what I want the team to achieve, and this is also a little bit how we're going to play. Some parents don't care, but some parents really get interested in that. So I guess, what is your advice on that?
So we produce obviously a range of resources, which I'm happy to go into, but we sort of have a grassroots or a bottom-up approach where, we got this event that we do in our state. It's the Youth Academy statewide showcase. It's a statewide festival that we facilitate, and I manage, facilitate, and there are a number of things that go into it. But every time I'm able to interact with coaches and players and parents at those events, and we just had one a couple weeks ago in April, the parents say, wow, I finally get what this NC Youth Academy is about. Because if you think about an 8 to 12-year-old player, they're doing a lot of things, but they're largely isolated in their community, meaning, when they travel to other parts of the state, it might be for family or vacation, but they're not necessarily going hours and hours away at that age to compete in any type of competition. So when they see the entire state to come together in our statewide festival and participate following the same rules, the other programs using the same vernacular, the same verbiage, the same values, for the most part, in terms of what they want to see from their players, no punting from the goalies, applying the PDI, the build-out lines. The parents are really blown away at the impact that this youth academy is having and the purpose of it. So that then filters down to the new crop of parents that are transitioning from rec or coming in from an outside program. But specifically, what resources do we provide? We reinforce through the content that we share on our site, and then in the individual meetings when I'm meeting with clubs, directors, and the parents, that the idea is to take your child and give them a chance to participate. And so we want to make sure, first and foremost, they get a chance to be involved. But secondly, it's a process, and that where they start is not where they finish. But because they're given that opportunity, they're going to be able to showcase the value of that program, the coaches in that program, but then also grow relative to their needs, whether they're dropping other activities in sports and focusing on soccer, or they're able to do multiple sports that help them grow through soccer. Just that pool idea and mentality, the parents get that when they see it come together at the statewide showcase, and they go, you know what? This is a true long-term approach, if you can say that, for 8 to 12-year-olds versus, hey, you're on the team with Coach Eric, he's awesome, but we didn't have enough to make a second team, and you're the last one, you don't get to play anymore. And I think that's the message we try and hammer home through our event. But then we have the resources, the formal and informal trainings that we do with our clubs and our directors to really reiterate that, because it's a 2-year cycle. Every 2 to 3 years, you're retraining and recoaching parents, and it's those lessons and it's the feedback we learn from the parents who are rising and exiting out that we want to share with these new parents.
Every parent is really only worried about one kid, or if they have 2 kids on the team, those 2 kids on the team and their development, and if they're playing and how they play. And player development is, as a coach, you're trying to not only develop each player, but the team and the style of play. And like you say, with the build out lines and teaching these players to build from the back and pick their head up and make the right choice and apply the technique at the same time, educating parents on that is such a crucial factor, because I feel as a coach, you say something on the field for maybe 3 hours a week, right? You have 2 training sessions that are an hour and a half. But if they're home the other nights of the week and their parents are saying a different message, which message is going to get through to the player? And I think that's so important, that the parents understand at least, hey, this is what the goal of this is, and it's player development on a whole.
And you mentioned that culture and that engagement and involvement with the parents. The relaunch or reemphasis on the grassroots from U.S. Soccer coaching education, because we've got standards and requirements of the coaches, the academy staff throughout the state. The new direction or directive of these grassroots courses is, how can you involve key stakeholders? How can you engage them beyond what happens, as you said, for 90 minutes twice a week inside the white lines. And so coaches are now being challenged to connect with key stakeholders, their DOCs, the administration within their clubs, but then the parents or the people who impact those players to help communicate their goals and objectives. But like you said, also develop agreed upon team behaviors that are going to go beyond just that player's experience that'll resonate throughout the club, which directors of coaching and directors of soccer pass on to these crucial people within the organization. I mean, these are the people that basically, our youth academy directors are taking the players from maybe a recreational volunteer experience with a loving parent to someone who's maybe more trained doing this as a profession, and then hopefully going to move them on. So in reality, these are, next to some of their their teachers or other influential people in their life, these are some of the most impactful guides that they will have through sport, at least within our state and the way we facilitate play here in North Carolina. So definitely important to creating that culture, as you're saying, and U.S. Soccer's grassroots education is recognize that, and it's awesome that the courses now advocate for that for the candidates, which only impact the players more effectively.
Yeah, and I want to turn in a little bit our discussion. You're talking about the grassroots education. Can you delve a little bit more into how do you get that education, where can you sign up, and what that education involves?
They're focusing on the level of play. So we've got 4v4, 77, 99, 11v11, and then the D starts. But they are candidate-centric, so it's going to be partially online. And so as a way for people to engage it in their environment based on their needs at the time that they have available. And then in addition to that, there's an in-person experience that they can pursue, which is going to supplement the online piece. And hopefully as they pursue or have a desire to continue on, they're going to engage in maybe the D, the C, the B, which are going to be longer period courses that are going to hopefully ask different things of them if they're looking to be in this as a profession part-time or even on a full-time basis. But, we have an awesome technical director here in our state, Bill Frujanic, who works as national staff as well as does our courses locally. And he's got a really, really good thumbprint on what our programs need, our coaches need, and how to best support our players through our coaches. All coaching can be found throughout the country at the Digital Coaches Center, which is basically like the big cloud for U.S. Soccer to help organize activities and track and trace events. But that's just dccc.soccer.com. But you can always reach out to anyone in your state that works at their state office. You can certainly reach out to Bill, myself, or our other assistant technical director, John, to help share that information out. And any one of us, we're all part of the coaching ed staff here. We can give you information on the courses in your area or what the best fit is for your program or level of play. But they've gone to, as I said, a candidate-centered approach and to fit the level of play that the coach or the program needs, whether it's 4v4, 9v9, 11v11, to break it down on a more specific basis, to make it more holistic, and to provide context. I think that's the biggest thing. Context for their experience in their environment.
Yeah, and I think that's so important that when we talk to coaches, when they come to these coaching education courses, sometimes they feel, I just want all the information. You tell me what to do so I can do it right. And one of the most important things is now it seems that we're trying to meet these coaches where they're at. Hey, you have a 7v7 team. What are some obstacles you see? And then how can we grow and alleviate those and develop players at the same time? And so I think that's a very important step from U.S. Soccer, and that coaches should know that. They're coming here to be a little bit out of their comfort zone, but they have to be vocal, they have to be involved so that they can kind of control their own learning environment. And that's what they're doing when they show up is, hey, this is what I see, and how can we grow from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like our game, right? We don't have timeouts other than injuries and halftime. So the players have to adjust on the fly, and positions are nominal. They're starting points, and if you're right back once the score, that's awesome. And so coaching ed has taken on that form. And, at the college level or high school level, you could have 18 players on the roster, but an injury happens or an academic issue presents itself, and now you're down to 15 or 16 players, and you've got to readjust your training session. So there is not one right answer. You have to make it work based on your experience and the goals you set for that day and for your team. And so I think that's where the coaching ed is going. And as you said, there's not one solution. It's how can you provide the context for the coach, for their program and their players to meet their needs, because everyone has a different situation. And so it's kind of that metaphor about our game being, the ball's round, the world's round. It's the world's game, and we're all adjusting as things change.
Brilliant. Well, it's been great to talk to you, Eric. How can some coaches, I know that you guys have some great content on your website, how can coaches find that content or even get in touch with you to maybe pick your brain a little bit or ask about the Youth Academy?
Yeah, so you can find our information at ncsoccer.org, which is our state association's website. You can click on the Youth Academy tab for a ton of resources there. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, NC Youth Soccer Academy. And then you can email me directly if you'd like at Eric, ERIC, at ncsoccer.org.
Brilliant, Eric. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right.